Good morning. It is officially June, although it doesn't quite feel like it today. It's quite cool and overcast, but a lot has changed in the last week. So come join me, take a look at what I have going on. I guess we'll start with the Loofah Ridge Gourd Corn Melon area. The bees are absolutely loving it this morning. Very active, and I love these loofah flowers. They're so pretty. They shine like beacons when I look out my kitchen window. That's all I see. It's wonderful. Have some loofah finally forming. Still somewhat small, but if it goes anything like the ridge gourd, that'll probably quadruple in size within the next 5 days. Not sure if you remember in my last garden video, but I had a ridge gourd that was about the size of my pinky. Well, in a week, it's a little bigger than my pinky now. That thing is absolutely massive. I'm hoping it stops getting longer soon and just starts filling out, but it is quite dense already. So I had forgotten that I planted potatoes in this bed as well, and then planted on top of them and around them. So I just have potatoes coming up everywhere. We'll see what they do. Hopefully I can pull them pretty gently when it's time without disturbing everything else around them. Oh, look at that sugar baby watermelon. That is the largest one on this plant so far, but we've got a whole bunch of little ones popping up. At this point, the base of the trellis where I planted my watermelon is pretty full. I unfortunately didn't space things out ideally, so I have just been letting the watermelon run through my corn. It's not going to hurt anything. And speaking of corn, I have ears everywhere. It's looking absolutely amazing. Hopefully this means I will have a great corn year instead of, last year, which was absolutely terrible. But look at all those ears. Each stalk is producing multiple ears so far. I'm not entirely sure how my peas are still producing since it is June in South Carolina, Zone 8B, and it's been hot. I mean, despite the random cool days that we've had periodically, the plants are starting to yellow and suffer a little bit in the heat, but I just don't know how they're still producing at this point. I mean, I'm not complaining, but it's a bit of a shock. My green beans have pretty much filled out the trellis. They'll probably get a little bit thicker on this as the season goes. You can see all the Japanese beetle damage, unfortunately, but it's not affecting production. Oh, look at them all. But isn't that a lovely sight? Look at all those green beans hanging. Unfortunately, I had to kind of go all Edward Scissorhands on my squash. They are being affected by a fungus. It's a type of blight. I'll put the name of it on the screen. I was reading up on it, and apparently this year has been exceptionally bad and affecting areas it hasn't really been seen before. This is my first time ever dealing with it. I've been treating with a copper fungicide, but there are some plants that are just looking really, really rough. Especially if you go over here. All that white on the stem, that is not just scarring. That is part of the fungus. I'm probably gonna have to pull a lot of these up, so I am going to likely be starting some more seeds in hopes that I can do a succession crop after this. Now, I actually had a memory pop up last night from 1 year ago today, where I found out that my garden my squash were infested with squash vine borer already. The plants were already wilting. They were pretty decimated. I thought that happened later in the season last year. Apparently I was wrong. It did pop up in my memories, in my photo albums, and on social media. So I can safely say that the prevention that I did this year, between the spraying and the hand picking of some of the eggs, as well as the beneficial nematodes I added to the soil, I think they're helping. Because so far I've only had to pull out one squash vine borer, and I've been vigilant about checking the plants so I can catch it before the plant gets to the point that it's not going to recover. And you might as well just rip it out. But right now, I'm not suffering too bad with squash vine borer. Fungus, on the other hand, still trying to figure that one out. I'm still getting production. It has slowed a little bit. I'm just gonna try my best and see what happens. But I am glad to see that I might be getting the upper hand on the squash vine borer, because that is a huge pest in my area. The mystery melons are growing very, very well. They are cantaloupe. No, honeydew. Why do I always confuse those? It's honeydew and Anas d'Amérique. I'm not sure which one is which. They may also both be Anas d'Amérique. I did have some seedlings die off. I'm not sure which ones died. And I did re-sow. So I guess we're going to find out when it starts producing melons. Another random potato nestled between my pepper plants. It happens. But as for pepper plants, this one started out a lot stronger than the other one I have. But now something's been munching on it. I have yet to find the culprit. And overall, it just doesn't look super happy. But I do have my first pepper. And the other one, again, these are banana peppers, looks fine. It doesn't look bothered by anything. So if you've been following along for a little while, you know that I planted cauliflower in very random places, just leftovers that germinated that I didn't expect to germinate so well. And I didn't expect them to turn into anything because they were planted later in the season, and our spring crops are really hit or miss here because it can go from freezing cold to summer temperatures in the matter of a couple weeks. But I was just going to let them do their thing, see what happened, pull them when I needed the space. Well, I found just the other day, I have a cauliflower starting. It's actually going to get ahead. So I'm going to actually tie these leaves together to keep that nice and shaded so the sun doesn't cause it to change colors. Okay, so I just clumped some of the leaves around there and tied them together. What happens when sun hits a cauliflower head, it will almost cause a sunburn. It'll cause it to change colors, so it won't be stark white. Still completely edible, just maybe not as pretty. But what you can do is tie some of the leaves together, make a little teepee of shade, and the head will still form perfectly fine in there and be perfectly white when you go to harvest it. And if you've seen some of my recent garden renovation videos, I built this new bed and transferred the 8-ball squash over here about a week and a half ago. I knew that they would be shocking really bad because the root system was extensive. They were larger plants and they don't really like to be disturbed once they are established. That one, yeah, it's shocking really, really bad. It does have some new growth on it though, so I'm just going to let it be. It might come back. This one was flopped over really bad and it's already coming back. So I may not have completely killed these plants, but either way, they weren't my favorite squash, so it wasn't too upsetting to me that they shocked or if they wouldn't make it. But still, I don't necessarily like to kill plants. I also planted some extra tomato plants that I had potted up from seeds that I didn't really know what to do with. And it was time for them to get in the ground. So they're going to be living in here for a little while as well. Speaking of tomato plants, this viney mess are 3 sun gold cherry, well, not sun gold, one of them's a sun gold, one's a champagne bubbles, and one's a gold nugget. And they are producing like crazy. This is my first year trying all 3 of these varieties. I'm not overly fond of the gold nugget so far. They were traded seeds, so it may have been cross-pollinated. I'm not sure. It's a very meaty tomato with very few seeds, and kind of bland in my opinion. The sun gold over here, however, has an incredible flavor. I really, really like this. I do believe I'm going to continue growing this. And I haven't had a chance to try the champagne bubbles quite yet. It hasn't completely ripened. It's been the last 2 ripen so far, but I should be getting something off of it pretty soon. And I'll let you know how it is. And that's a pretty nice morning basket. I am getting about this many green beans in the morning. There are a ton left still on the plant that I probably could have harvested, but I'm not in the need of them right now, so I'm just going to let them get a little bit bigger and probably harvest them in the next couple days before they get too big and start getting tough. I'm just going to go drop my goodies off in the kitchen, and we'll go ahead and check out the front garden beds. Last week, maybe 2 weeks ago now, I trellised the dragon fruit in a new system, and it's doing really well since I've done that. It's starting to put off more nodes instead of just this one massive one that is the length of 3 dragon fruit sections, 4 dragon fruit sections, but it's doing really well. My papaya tree looks like it's doing really well, but I've been having some leaves drop, and upon closer inspection, I doubt you'll be able to see it on camera. It looks like it might have spider mites again. I swear I have been struggling with spider mites intermittently for 2 years now and never used to have an issue. But I'll spray it with some spinosad here tonight. Hopefully that'll take care of it before it gets too out of control. I keep seeing what I think are little fruit buds or flower buds, but then they fail and break off before they turn into anything. So I think that might be spider mite related. Now, I did a little bit of a thing. It is my birthday next Sunday, so I decided to treat myself to a new fruit tree. Ordered it from Fast Growing Trees. It is a Owari Satsuma Mandarin, said to be the most hardy of the orange citruses and mandarins, whereas most are hardy down to 30 degrees. This can withstand brief temperature drops down to about 17 degrees, whereas 30 is not so uncommon for our area in the winter. Teens are much, much less common. So hopefully I will be able to keep this planted in the ground because I don't need any more patio plants, and only cover it if we get some freak weather like we did last December. I also got myself a little Stevens cranberry bush. It's only going to get about 2 feet tall. It's quite small right now, but looking in pretty good shape. I think we got some flowers on there. We do. It'll be very much so like the American cranberry, but not get too big. I know, happy birthday to myself. Couldn't help myself. I've been wanting this mandarin tree and that Stevens cranberry for a really long time, but they've been perpetually out of stock. Finally, after waiting over a year, they're in stock, and I was able to get one. Now, if you're in the South Carolina area, you probably know what this is. This is a maypop, or a passion fruit. The maypop is South Carolina's native version of passion fruit. And we have some buds coming, so hopefully we'll be able to get some fruit off of this. They are host to the Gulf Frutili butterfly, and the flowers, in my opinion, are absolutely stunning. No new blooms on the Plumera today. Plenty more to come though. but it's starting to branch off into multiple sections. Whereas before it was just the 3 base stalks. I'm so glad this thing recovered from its winter fight with spider mites. Found some clearance stuff while I was at Tractor Supply. These were dahlia bulbs that were pretty leggy inside the packaging, but they were $1, so I grabbed them, and they are starting to sprout up. My orange tender sweet watermelon is sprawling beautifully. I've seen a lot of flowers, not too many female flowers yet, but I do have one. I'm sure more female flowers are going to come around. It'll just take some time. To put these little baggies over the Dorman red raspberries, protect the ripening berries from the birds. I have been starting to get some ripe berries off of these, and it is delicious. It just seemed like the easier option than netting the whole thing, since the support structure, well, temporary support structure I built around this just for the season isn't really enough to keep a net, I guess, stable and keep birds from figuring out how to get into it. So I just wrapped the little berry clusters in baggies, and it's doing just fine. The Siam tulip is gonna start blooming soon. Again, I am so thrilled that these survived the winter frost, the winter freeze, I should say. And then the torch ginger, also doing great. Don't mind the mess on it. It's right under a bird feeder. That's what we call Nero's TV. My cat. Put it right next to the window so he can watch the crazy cowbirds. The goji berry is going to be absolutely full of fruit soon. So many flowers. Sorry for the background noise. I live in a neighborhood. Some people mow their yards on the weekend. Who knew? And these golden raspberries, what I believe are golden raspberries, have been so prolific. I come out here twice a day and harvest a good handful. Granted, they never make it inside, so I can't make anything with them. I just can't help myself. They're so delicious, I eat them as I pick them. And last but not least, the green stalk strawberry tower shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon. And I am okay with that. Well, I have a busy day ahead of me. I'm going to be building more of the garden bed area for the renovation. As long as the weather holds out for me, maybe plant a tree. We'll see. We'll see how much energy I have. Thanks for coming along to watch my garden grow. Till next time, bye.